the Queen and Prince Philip. So,
I didn't call my whole country racist like you did.
Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't kill my grandmother-in-law.
No.
None of that happened in my world.
No, I didn't. I didn't cut my husband off from his entire family of origin and keep my children from a historical lineage, the likes of which has never been seen since. Like, get out. Oh, my God, Meghan, I have to tell you something before I forget. There is this documentary on Netflix that you will love. It is called Rebel Royals.
And good.
It's like if the Harry and Meghan story was funny. So it's about Princess Martha Louise of Norway, who falls in love with a Black American shaman from LA.
Wow.
He's gay.
Oh, that's a problem.
But not for her.
What do you mean?
It's like this, like you see them like planning their wedding and it's so funny because like he starts off, he's on camera first and two words out of his mouth and I'm saying this guy's a gay guy. Like, what's he doing? Four words in, he's like, now I am a gay man. Is this a problem? Not really.
What?
Yeah, because he's coming into his full flower because he's going to become a royal.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, who could blame him? This has got Cory Booker vibes.
But it's like the opposite of because like Meghan was exactly like the theater kid, and Meghan was like, what's a bigger stage than royalty?
Yes,
right? But she resists it. But like this guy's like all in.
Did you know gold is up around 40% this year? 40. That's not speculation. That is reality. And if a portion of your savings is not diversified into gold, you could be missing the boat. Here are the facts. Inflation is still high. The US dollar is still weak, and government debt is still growing. This is why central banks are flocking to gold. They're the ones driving prices up to record highs, but it's not too late for you to buy gold. You're not too late to get in on this. From Birch Gold Group, and to get in the door now. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. You can do it in whole or in part. You don't pay one dime out of pocket. Just text MK to 989898 and claim your free info kit. There's no obligation, just useful information. The best indicator of the future is the past, and gold has historically been a safe haven for decades. So text MK to 989898 right now to claim your free info kit on gold. That's MK to 989898. Protect your future today with Birch Gold.
And yet there were mixed reviews. How did that land for you?
I think I knew who I was trying to meet. I think oftentimes the negative voices, are they saying negative things and then secretly going home and making single-skillet spaghetti? Possibly. And that's all right. They're trying to pay their bills, and that's for them to sort out if they're comfortable doing it at someone else's detriment. From my standpoint, the intention of the show was to share more of myself, to share tips that I love in my life, and to have fun.
But there's this take that you're glorifying homemaking or glorifying trad wives.
Oh, really? That feels odd to me.
Yeah, how do you respond to that?
That feels odd to me. I mean, I hadn't heard that. But I'm really unapologetic about the fact that though would it be lovely to go and churn your own butter? Sure, maybe. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And I don't think you get an extra gold star if you do that.
Oh my God, I hate them both so much with every fiber of my being. That interviewer is an idiot. Emily Chang, how dumb is she? That there's a criticism that it's like promoting trad wives. Like, who would ever want to be like, you actually promoted domesticity. Who would ever want to do that?
Right. You're promoting cooking and homemaking and taking care of your children and building a warm, loving environment. But Emily, Emily's really, she's a very serious person because she puts her hand on her chin.
Yeah.
She leans in a lot. And
she's got the super short hair.
Yes, we're very serious. We're very, very serious. But
then what a missed opportunity for Meghan Markle there. She should have said, first of all, you're an idiot. Let's start with that. And then she should have said, why would that be a bad thing?
Right.
What's wrong with staying home?
Right.
Creating a great home for your family. Right. I would have loved for her to turn it back on that interviewer. But instead, she's like, oh my God, I'm getting out-progressived by my progressive interviewer. So, I'd love to stay at home and churn butter, but I don't have time for that. Meanwhile, you fucking showed us your beehive. What are you?
Oh my God.
Pick a lane.
100%. She is exactly doing that shit because she's part of the 1%. The reason she couldn't respond, I think, quickly to that is because she's got a staff raising her kids. If she were really raising her kids, she would know that's the hardest job on the planet.
She would feel attacked.
get time off. And you would say, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
In fact, that's the hardest job there is. So
Right.
yeah, I would lean into that.
Right. She wasn't offended because she doesn't actually do that.
No.
She actually does look down on that, just like the interviewer does. That's what happened there.
That's what she's doing, by the way, when she's not taking Emily to her favorite bookstore, where Emily's asking, what have you read lately? And
While we're on the subject of absurd people, Meghan Markle's back in the news, our favorite. She gave an interview to Bloomberg. I know you're aware of this, Emily Chang at Bloomberg. And they had some casual conversation. We'll start with, Sot 39 for kicks.
Is there an inherent tension in trying to be relatable while also being a duchess?
No.
Oh, God.
No, I don't find, I'm just being myself. So I think probably it was different several years ago where I couldn't be as vocal and I had to wear nude pantyhose all the time. Let's be honest, that was not very myself. I hadn't seen pantyhose since movies in the 80s when they came in the little egg. That felt a little bit inauthentic, but that's a silly example. But it is an example of when you're able to dress the way you want to dress and you're able to say the things that are true and you're able to show up in the space really organically and authentically.
Single tear.
show up in a space organically and authentically. It's the Hoda lexicon.
She had it so tough, Maureen. She couldn't be her true self because they made her wear the nude pantyhose.
And to say what you want to say. But I don't know what it is. What is it you want to say? Like, get it out. It's been 10 years. Spit it out. What are you trying to say, lady?
For once and for all. Spit it out is right. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just my authentic self. That's it. I mean, truer words were never not spoken by her. She's like, no one knows who she is. What we hear behind the scenes is that she's a bully who fires everybody, runs around only worried about herself. But when she gets on camera, she actually is a decent actress in being like, I'm just this super relatable person with her own flower sprinkles and, you know, candle line. And I just sit around being like a working mom. I'm just like all the other working moms.
Right.
That's me.
Right. And like even like the princess is divorced, and in Norway it's a huge deal because like the royal family's really they have culturally and historically it's a huge deal, so they take it very seriously. And she's got these 3 children, girls from her first marriage, and they're like sitting around the table in LA, and they're just talking to him like, yeah, like you're like my favorite gay uncle.
This is hilarious. So they actually get married?
Do you want spoilers?
Oh, no, I don't. No, okay. I've got it written down. Rebel Royals.
You'll love it. She should sit down with the likes of you.
Oh, my God.
Right?
Can you imagine?
Or the likes of me. Or like I said on the Nerve the other day, like I think the smartest thing Meghan could have done was after we did, which the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, how they ignored with Love Meghan with a Y.
We were dissed. It was wrong.
We were robbed.
Yeah, we were totally robbed.
I think the smartest play for her would have been to have her people reach out to you and say, hey, I'd like to come play. Like, can I come and do
that
version with you guys?
Brilliant.
And she would have been like the next door neighbor that you didn't know moved in, and we're just having like fancy whatever we were. I don't know.
That would have made us like her.
Yeah, we would have had no choice.
It would have been kind of sad.
Oh, you have a sense of humor,
right? But it's no accident she didn't do it because she doesn't have a sense of humor about herself.
No. I think she's got voodoo dolls of you.
Yeah, and you.
Don't drag me into this.
You're in it, sister.
I'm just a supporting player.
Here's 38. We got one more to go.
I think it's before that part in the Emily episode, which is they're eating smashburgers at her favorite burger joint.
We have it. We think you're talking about 37. Let's see.
Things got real. All before noon on a Tuesday.
When do you feel the least Duchess of Sussex?
Oh my God.
This woman's
sitting
an
here eating
idiot.
a smashburger with you being asked these questions.
I'm having the same vibe as pow, pow, pow.
Oh my God, yes. Yes. And also, what an insult to your interviewer who flew to Montecito. When do you feel the least Duchess of Sussex? Sitting here with you.
She deserved it. That girl's an idiot. I'm sorry, but that interview was painful. She's obsessed with the Duchess thing.
She is, but also, like, again, if you want a really interesting interview, right? You really want to go viral and make some noise. Like, you sit down with an antagonist. She says, I don't have time to read.
Okay.
But this is my favorite place to go.
Okay.
The bookstore. Okay.
Is it Jump for Joy?
Is she secretly ordering?
Okay, so I just want to say that business about, well, are some people attack me to pay their bills, but then are they eating one pot pasta? I feel attacked. I think that was at us.
I do too, but we weren't even secretly doing it.
We made one pot pasta to mock you. We didn't actually make it to enjoy it.
No, we did. But then I believe this happened after we stopped filming it. But didn't we try it?
Yeah, it actually was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was but we can say that.
Yeah.
We can say that.
But it was Martha Stewart's recipe. That's why it was good.
Right.
We worked off of Martha's recipe just like you did, Duchess.
And I love how she says, if you feel comfortable denigrating people, yeah, I do when they deserve it.
I totally do.
Absolutely freaking do.
Yes.
I feel that aligns completely with my values. And she did it to the British royal family until she killed off.
Meghan Markle wants you to believe she's finally showing her true self. No more rules, no more filters, just a down-to-earth duchess with a smashburger in one hand and a single-skillet pasta recipe in the other. At least, that's the version she served up in her recent Bloomberg interview. But behind the carefully curated smiles, neutral tones, and humble brag soundbites, something felt off, very off. She says she's no longer wearing the metaphorical pantyhose, that now, at last, she's free to speak her truth. But the truth is, no one's really sure what she's actually saying, least of all Meghan. In a sit-down that was meant to feel cozy and candid, she somehow managed to insult her interviewer, side-eye homemakers, dodge real questions, and confuse the public even more about who she is, or who she's pretending to be this time. This wasn't just another soft-focus PR puff piece. It was a slow-motion identity crisis, wrapped in a candle-scented soundbite. And as the contradictions piled up, from bookstore visits without reading to feminist takes that quietly mocked stay-at-home moms, it became clear Meghan wasn't redefining authenticity. She was accidentally exposing just how manufactured it's all become. And what came next? Well, let's just say the internet didn't buy the rebrand. Let's start with the line that launched 1,000 eye rolls. According to Meghan, one of the greatest markers of her past inauthenticity was being forced to wear nude pantyhose during royal appearances. Yes, that's the oppression she's decided to highlight. Not the media scrutiny, not the rigid hierarchy of the monarchy, but pantyhose, the horror. In her Bloomberg sit-down, she paints the tights as a symbol of everything she couldn't be. Let's be honest, she says, that was not very myself. It's meant to be a light-hearted anecdote, a playful jab at the constraints of royal life. But for many viewers, it came off as tone-deaf, almost comically so. Because when you're living in a $14 million Montecito estate with staff, security, and a personal PR team, complaining about hosiery doesn't scream relatable. It screams out of touch. And here's the deeper irony. Meghan has spent her entire adult life performing. From Hollywood auditions to scripted interviews to the tightly polished Netflix docuseries, she's always known how to play a role. If pantyhose were the problem, what about the dozens of curated, self-approved public appearances where everything, including the tears, seemed focus grouped? What about the voiceovers, the rehearsed pauses, the strategic pauses between words like healing, growth, and journey? Authenticity in Meghan's world seems to be a moving target, one that conveniently shifts whenever she's looking to reset her brand. And yet she keeps insisting she's just being real. But what is eel about what exactly? That's the part that's still missing. Because while Meghan may have ditched the pantyhose, she's still wrapped head to toe in glossy contradictions. And what she said next only made the gap between her words and reality even harder to ignore. If nude pantyhose were Meghan's personal prison, then apparently a smashburger was her path to liberation. In a moment that was clearly designed to feel quirky and relatable, Meghan tried to paint herself as just another mom grabbing a greasy lunch on a Tuesday. Sitting across from Bloomberg's Emily Chang, she was asked, "When do you feel the least Duchess of Sussex?" Her answer, "Sitting here with you." Let that sink in. Not while folding laundry, not while stepping on Legos, not while wiping crayon off the walls, or dealing with toddler tantrums like every other parent on earth. No, she feels the least royal while being interviewed, on camera, at her favorite burger joint, by a journalist who flew in just to spotlight her. And somehow, she thought this would make her seem down to earth. Instead, it came off as a backhanded insult, a dig at the interviewer, a slap in the face to the audience, and most of all, a glaring sign that Meghan still doesn't get it, or worse, doesn't care. Because this was her chance to connect, to show vulnerability, to explain who she really is underneath the titles and media circus. But instead, she leaned into a performance, the carefully crafted, relatable Duchess act that always seems just a little too practiced. And here's the real kicker. When you're trying that hard to look spontaneous, the cracks start to show. The smashburger moment wasn't quirky. It was calculated. It wasn't charming. It was condescending. And instead of smashing the public's expectations, Meghan may have just smashed what little goodwill she had left. But as awkward as that moment was, what came next peeled back something even more revealing. And it wasn't the lettuce on her burger. Behind every carefully curated shot of Meghan sipping matcha or arranging flowers lies a deeper question no one seems able to answer. Who is she really? Because the woman who shows up in interviews isn't the same one insiders whisper about behind closed doors. And that contrast is becoming harder to ignore. In the Bloomberg interview, Meghan leaned hard into her authenticity era. She's just a working mom now, she says. Candles, cookbooks, casual vibes. She's finally being herself. But according to former staffers, that version of Meghan is as fictional as a Hallmark movie plot. Multiple reports, from royal aides to Montecito insiders, have painted a wildly different picture. One of a woman obsessed with control, frequently accused of bullying, and known for cycling through employees like costume changes. This isn't just hearsay, it's been documented. Palace aides claimed they were traumatized by her behavior. One famously coined the term, the Sussex Survivor Club, a dark nickname for those who had worked under her and Prince Harry. Meghan, of course, has denied all of it, chalking it up to racism, sexism, and a smear campaign. But the stories keep coming. Meanwhile, in public, she's the perfect paradox. A humble duchess who also happens to be friends with billionaires, a private citizen who signs multi-million-dollar streaming deals, a woman who says she values quiet moments, but somehow ends up in every major media cycle. And here's where the mask really starts to slip. She's trying to sell vulnerability while being completely untouchable. She wants to be seen as a regular mom, but never drops the perfect lighting, the flawless skin, or the pre-approved talking points. The real Meghan, whoever she is, never seems to make it to the surface. And the public is beginning to feel it. Even her supporters are starting to ask, is this a personality or just a performance? Because each time Meghan steps in front of a camera, she comes off less like a woman sharing her truth and more like an actress playing the role of her life. The relatable duchess in theaters now. But Meghan's script may finally be wearing thin. And her next move, a passive-aggressive potshot wrapped in pasta, didn't help her case. If there was any doubt that Meghan Markle hears the critics, this next moment confirmed it. And she didn't just hear them. She fired back, with carbs. In the latter half of the Bloomberg interview, Meghan made a curious comment that sent online commentators and YouTubers into overdrive. When asked about backlash to her new Netflix homemaking show, she casually lobbed this grenade. Oftentimes, the negative voices are saying negative things, and then secretly going home and making single-skillet spaghetti. Possibly. And that's all right. Let's unpack that. Because what sounded like a throwaway line was anything but. This was Meghan taking a swipe, a subtle, pointed jab at the very people mocking her homemaker chic rebrand. YouTubers, commentators, bloggers, the ones calling her out for glorifying domesticity she doesn't actually live. In a few words, she painted them as bitter, broke, and secretly obsessed with her recipe content. Here's the kicker. The very critics she was likely targeting did make that pasta. In fact, they filmed themselves cooking it on air, not to enjoy it, but to mock the absurdity of Meghan trying to pitch homemaking advice from a multi-million-dollar mansion. And ironically, they admitted, it was actually pretty good, not because of Meghan's authentic touch, but because they used Martha Stewart's version. The same version Meghan's team clearly used, just rebranded as her own. So what we're left with is Meghan launching a smug clapback at people who not only gave her free press, but also improved on her content. And she did it while pretending she's too classy to care. That's not authenticity. That's calculated condescension. And let's not overlook the contradiction. Meghan claims she wants to support women, to lift up moms, to celebrate homemakers, but then she turns around and shames people who actually cook at home. You can't pretend to be the champion of everyday women and then sneer at their dinner choices in the same breath. Worse, her comment revealed something she probably didn't intend. She reads the hate. She watches the clips. She knows who's dragging her, and she cares, deeply. This wasn't a duchess brushing off criticism. This was a woman who wanted to appear above it all while secretly crafting shade as soft as her overpriced table linens. It was a passive-aggressive power move, cloaked in garlic and olive oil. But her disdain for homemakers didn't stop at spaghetti. What came next exposed a deeper discomfort with the very image she's trying to sell, and an even more awkward moment with her interviewer would drive that home. Just when you thought the pantyhose drama and pasta shade were the worst of it, Meghan pivoted to a topic that should have been her slam dunk: empowering women. Instead, it turned into a cringeworthy showcase of just how disconnected she's become from the very people she claims to represent. When Bloomberg's Emily Chung brought up the public criticism that Meghan's Netflix series was glorifying homemaking or glorifying trades, the Duchess was visibly thrown. Rather than seizing the moment to defend stay-at-home moms, working-class women, or domestic life as a worthy choice, Meghan gave one of the flattest responses of the entire interview. That feels odd to me. I mean, I hadn't heard that. But I'm really unapologetic about the fact that, would it be lovely to go and churn your own butter? Sure, maybe. I don't have time for that. And just like that, she unintentionally insulted thousands of women. In a single sentence, she reduced homemaking to some outdated, butter-churning fantasy, while simultaneously distancing herself from it. I don't have time for that, she said, as if homemakers do. As if the hardest, most exhausting unpaid job in the world is something you can just opt into or out of like a Pinterest hobby. The feminist contradiction was deafening. Here's a woman who left the palace claiming she wanted freedom, to raise her kids, speak her truth, live a grounded life, and now, when questioned about domestic work, she laughs it off like it's beneath her. Worse, she implies that the very idea of homemaking is somehow regressive, anti-feminist, or just not on brand for someone as evolved as her. But here's the real problem. Meghan doesn't actually do any of it. That's what makes this all feel like a feminist fail, not a feminist stand. She talks about motherhood, homemaking, and domestic joy, but she has staff. She has nannies. She has private chefs. She's not folding laundry at 2 a.m. or packing school lunches in a rush. She's building a lifestyle brand that packages those ideas for profit while outsourcing the real labor behind them. This disconnect wasn't lost on the public. Meghan had a golden opportunity to speak up for women who've historically been undervalued, dismissed, or mocked for choosing home over career. Instead, she fumbled, brushing off the question with a joke and a shrug, trying to laugh her way past a topic that clearly made her uncomfortable. What could have been a moment of empowerment turned into a moment of exposure. Not because Meghan said anything outrageous, but because she said so little with so much effort. She didn't celebrate homemakers. She sidestepped them. She didn't challenge the criticism. She confirmed it. And in doing so, she exposed something far more telling than just a PR blunder. Because when you claim to speak for women, but can't even respect their most fundamental roles, what are you really fighting for? And just when viewers thought the contradictions couldn't get any more obvious, Meghan took us to her favorite place and unknowingly proved she's playing a character she doesn't even understand. By now, Meghan Markle's interview was already slipping into full-blown satire, but it was her next claim that sent viewers into a tailspin of secondhand embarrassment. As she guided Emily Chang through her favorite Montecito spots, Meghan stopped in front of a cozy, curated local bookstore and declared, "This is my favorite place to go." Charming, right? Until Emily asked a simple follow-up. "What have you read lately?" Cue the spin. Meghan blinked, smiled, and casually admitted, "I don't have time to read." Let that sink in. In the middle of a press tour promoting her brand of cozy candles, home-cooked pasta, and women's empowerment, she plants herself in front of a bookstore, a place symbolizing depth, learning, and authenticity, and openly admits she hasn't read anything. It was the verbal equivalent of holding up a book for a selfie, then putting it back unread. All aesthetic, no substance. And this isn't an isolated moment. It's part of a growing pattern that's beginning to erode the relatable duchess persona Meghan's trying so desperately to sell. In a span of minutes, she went from joking about churning butter to shaming homemakers to claiming she has no time to read, all while curating an image of a woman who is, apparently, deeply invested in slow living, conscious parenting, and artisan candle pouring. It's not just confusing, it's contradictory branding. She wants to be the barefoot duchess who gardens with her kids, but also the high-powered executive building media empires. She wants to be the soft-lit homemaker championing the simple life, but also the tech-forward brand architect who doesn't read, doesn't cook, and doesn't have time for butter. Take her beehive, for instance. Yes, the literal one. Meghan has proudly shown off her backyard apiary. Yet, when pressed about homemaking or traditional roles, she dismisses it all with, "I don't have time for that." So, which is it? Are you handcrafting honey jars for your neighbors or too busy to boil pasta? This is where the Meghan Markle narrative begins to implode on itself. The contradictions aren't just subtle, they're screaming. Her branding is a glossy patchwork of Pinterest dreams, borrowed quotes, and borrowed aesthetics. And the problem isn't that it's manufactured, it's that she keeps pretending it's not. People aren't upset that Meghan's wealthy or privileged. They're upset that she cloaks that privilege in false modesty. She presents Montecito as normal. She presents paid staff as community. She presents PR as personality, and she expects viewers not to notice when the illusion cracks, but they are noticing. And every time Meghan tries to show more of herself, it seems like we see less of anything real. The more she speaks, the more the brand unravels. And when even a visit to a bookstore ends with the line, "I don't have time to read," you know the performance is slipping. What came next didn't fix the damage. In fact, it brought everything crashing down. The branding, the authenticity narrative, and the thinly veiled contempt for the people watching at home. Because what Meghan said next wasn't just another gaffe, It was the final spark that ignited a full-blown PR fire. By the end of the Bloomberg interview, Meghan Markle had checked nearly every box in the influencer handbook. Trendy food references, humble brag about being too busy, emotional buzzwords like authentic and organic, and of course a curated walk through her Montecito bubble. But when all was said and done, something critical had gone missing: sincerity. The illusion of authenticity, which she leaned on so heavily, didn't just falter, it shattered. Let's rewind. Meghan claimed she was finally free to be herself. No palace rules, no dress codes, no filter. But what exactly did she offer as proof? A smashburger lunch date and a monologue about pantyhose? That's not vulnerability, that's theater. Carefully framed, perfectly staged, and emotionally vacant. And when it came time to actually answer hard questions about criticism, homemaking, public perception, Meghan dodged, deflected, or disguised her discomfort with sarcasm and vague commentary. The most revealing thing she said was that she hadn't heard about the criticism of her Netflix show, which feels unlikely given how viral the backlash became. That wasn't an honest moment. It was damage control dressed as aloofness. But the cracks weren't just in what she said. They were in what she implied, like suggesting homemakers and critics were secretly making her recipes in shame. She presents herself as overwhelmed and overworked, when she's surrounded by resources most people could only dream of. Or like standing in front of a bookstore she claims to love, and confessing she hasn't read a thing. None of this would have been a problem if she had just been honest about the contradiction. If she had said, "I live a privileged life, but I'm trying to connect anyway," that would have landed. That would have felt real. But instead, she tried to erase the line between Duchess and everywoman, and ended up revealing how vast the gap really is. Because here's the truth. Authenticity doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean checking every socially acceptable box or sounding like a self-help podcast. It means owning who you are, flaws and all. And Meghan, in all her carefully curated imagery, still refuses to do that. She says she wants to show more of herself, but the version she offers feels like a character, not a confession, a performance tailored to trends, a rebrand built on contradictions. At one point, she even suggested that people who criticize her are doing so just to pay their bills, that their work is somehow less valid, less noble, because it involves talking about her. They're trying to pay their bills, and that's for them to sort out, if they're comfortable doing it at someone else's detriment. But here's the irony. Her entire public persona, the podcast, the Netflix deals, the brand endorsements, exists because of the royal name she walked away from, and the drama she continues to stir up. She critiques others for building careers off her back. But isn't that exactly what she's doing with her Duchess title? This wasn't a reset. It wasn't an evolution. It was the same old glossy pitch, just in a new font. And instead of redefining herself, Meghan accidentally revealed something far more damaging. She doesn't have a clearly defined self anymore, just layers of rebranding and responses to whatever backlash is trending this month. The more she talks, the less real she sounds. And for someone chasing authenticity, that's the one thing she can't afford to lose. Next, the internet responded. And not with sympathy. What people really heard from this interview wasn't the soft piano music and candlelit branding. It was something far more frustrating and far more revealing. Meghan Markle may have spent the Bloomberg interview speaking softly and lighting metaphorical candles, but the public wasn't soothed. They were stunned, not by her poise or her authenticity or her supposed relatability, but by the sheer volume of contradictions, elitism, and accidental insults that rolled out between bites of smashburgers and brand-approved soundbites. Because while Meghan thought she was carefully crafting her image, the audience was reading between every single line. And what they heard wasn't the curated story of a misunderstood duchess. They heard something else entirely. They heard a woman who can't stop referencing motherhood, but never seems to know the reality of raising children without full-time help. They heard her glorify one-pot pasta as if it were a symbol of simplicity, while mocking the very people who cooked it. They heard her walk through a bookstore and call it her favorite place, before admitting she doesn't have time to read. And they heard her claim to be unapologetically herself, while spending every second of the interview wrapped in brand strategy and buzzwords. Viewers weren't just confused, they were irritated, because Meghan wasn't owning her privilege. She was cloaking it in faux humility. Her version of being real involved implying critics are jealous, broke, and cooking her recipes in secret. Her version of empowerment involved distancing herself from homemakers while pretending to champion them. And her version of a relatable duchess felt more like a lifestyle influencer trying to go viral on Instagram than someone with lived experience. The public didn't hear vulnerability. They heard evasion. They didn't hear wisdom. They heard tone-deaf monologues. And what stung the most was that Meghan, once again, positioned herself as the victim, under siege from anonymous critics who profit off her pain while quietly refusing to acknowledge how much she's profited from playing both the royal and anti-royal card. But here's what people are starting to realize. Meghan wants the optics of a commoner with the power of a princess. She wants the empathy of a working mom with the lifestyle of a billionaire. She wants to be seen as both outsider and insider, both victim and victor. And the more she talks, the more that impossible contradiction grates on the audience's nerves. No amount of candlelight or smashburgers can cover up the growing disconnect. Because what the public really heard in that interview wasn't honesty. It was branding. Branding that slipped. Branding that felt hollow. Branding that couldn't decide whether it wanted to sell relatability, royalty, or revenge. Meghan may have intended this as a soft relaunch, a gentle reset of her public persona. But instead, she accidentally confirmed everything her critics have been saying for years. That the authenticity is performative, that the narratives shift with the wind, and that at the heart of it all, there's not a woman fighting for freedom, but a brand fighting for relevance. And when authenticity becomes a sales pitch, the audience stops listening, which leaves one final question hanging in the air. After all the press tours, all the pasta, all the carefully staged normalcy, what happens when the public just doesn't buy it anymore? At some point, the line between polished and phony becomes impossible to ignore. Meghan Markle walked into that Bloomberg interview with one clear goal: to reframe herself as real, grounded, and, above all, relatable. But by the time the last camera shut off, she had achieved the opposite because nothing reveals inauthenticity faster than someone trying too hard to look authentic. From pantyhose complaints to smashburger symbolism, from homemaking hypocrisy to bookish posturing, Meghan built an image that was supposed to feel organic, but instead felt rehearsed. Every sentence was wrapped in branding. Every anecdote had a purpose. And every pause, every smile, every nod seemed calculated to hit a marketing metric, not a human moment. And that's the real problem. It's not that Meghan's privileged. It's that she's pretending not to be. It's not that she's building a lifestyle empire. It's that she's doing it while claiming she's just like everyone else. The public isn't angry that she's wealthy, famous, or ambitious. They're frustrated because she refuses to own it. Relatability doesn't come from pretending to churn butter or name-dropping your favorite bookstore. It comes from acknowledging the truth of your circumstances and speaking plainly. Instead, Meghan tried to walk both sides of the line: royal and rebel, homemaker and mogul, victim and victor. And in doing so, ended up alienating the very audience she was trying to win back. The truth is, Meghan doesn't need to be relatable. She needs to be real. But right now, even that seems out of reach. Because when your version of authentic is wrapped in candlelight, filtered through brand consultants, and served with a side of passive-aggressive pasta shade, the public sees right through it. The Duchess may have ditched the crown, but she hasn't shed the performance. And at this point, the only thing more exhausting than the image she's selling is pretending to believe it. So what happens when relatable becomes unrelatable? The audience tunes out, the followers scroll past, and the brand, no matter how glossy, begins to fade. Meghan didn't just miss the mark. She proved once again that you can stage the perfect scene. But if there's no substance behind the smile, it's only a matter of time before the curtain falls.